Black history stories you don't know. They say black families didn't build wealth. They say we didn't create industries. But what they never talk about is how many systems were designed to make sure we couldn't, and how some families, against every rule of American economics, broke free anyway. Before Motown, before the music, before the legacy, the Gordy family lived a life most Americans never learn about. Berry Gordy Sr., the father of Motown's founder, was the son of freed slaves who became sharecroppers on a 168-acre stretch of worn-out Georgia soil. Sharecropping wasn't freedom, it was plantation economics rebranded, a system built to keep black families tied to white landowners through debt, scrip, and impossible contracts. No matter how hard they worked, they owed more every year. Children buried before their time, parents aging before their years, generations trapped by design. Sharecroppers didn't get paid in wealth, they didn't get savings, they didn't get stability. Most were paid in scrip, fake money only usable at the white man's store, a closed loop, a trap. A system meant to guarantee that black labor never became black ownership. The Gordys lived through all of it: poverty, exploitation, fear of violence if they asked for more than they were allowed. But then came the moment that changed everything. In 1922, something remarkable happened. Berry Gordy Sr. managed to sell old timber stumps from the farm. Not for scrip, not for credit, but for real cash money, $2,600. In today's dollars, tens of thousands. It was the first time the family had been paid in something the plantation system couldn't control. And the moment that money hit his hands, the Gordy family did something most could never afford to do in the Jim Crow South. They seized the opportunity the windfall brought immediately, not later, not one day, not when things get better. They acted because they knew chances like this didn't come twice for black families in the South. But that kind of money put a target on your back. White neighbors wanted it, the system wanted it. And the South had a long history of making black success disappear. So Berry Sr. did what many families only dreamed of. He took the money and ran. He packed up his wife and children, left Georgia behind, and headed for Detroit. This wasn't just a move, it was an escape, a jailbreak from America's economic plantation. The Great Migration created something the South tried to suffocate: black possibility. In Detroit, the Gordys built businesses, groceries, real estate, employment agencies. Berry Gordy Sr. preached ownership, discipline, and ambition, generational lessons forged in the fire of sharecropping. But what truly set the Gordy family apart wasn't just their escape from the South, it was the economic system they built once they reached Detroit, because the Gordys didn't just chase opportunity, they created it. Berry Gordy Sr. and his wife Bertha launched something their children would remember forever. They called it the Family Pot, a homegrown investment pool officially known as the B.R. Berry Co-op. A shared investment pool, a family-operated bank based on discipline, vision, and collective power. Every adult child contributed, every business idea had to be pitched at the kitchen table. Every loan required a plan, accountability, and repayment. This wasn't charity, this wasn't luck, this was black economic strategy, sharpened by what they survived in Georgia, and it worked. The Family Pot funded multiple Gordy-owned businesses: a construction company, a printing shop, a beauty school, a travel agency, and more. And when a young Berry Gordy Jr. wanted to start a record label, he came to the family just like everyone else. He borrowed $800 from the Family Pot, the seed money that became Motown Records, and he paid every dime back. It didn't start with corporate investors or old money networks. It was built from black family unity, from a private economy designed by people who knew they'd never get a fair shot anywhere else. Motown wasn't just a label, it was a cultural revolution, and it wasn't created with corporate investors, no industry gatekeepers, no old money networks. It was built from black ownership, family discipline, and a vision carved out of survival. Motown became the sound of a generation, from the Supremes to Stevie Wonder. From Marvin Gaye to the Temptations, it beat the biggest labels in the world, it dominated radio, it changed global culture. And all of it came from a family that once picked cotton on land they would never be allowed to own. Motown's success was not normal, it was not common, and it did not happen in a fair system. Here's the truth the industry never talks about: there have been hundreds of profitable, influential white-owned labels, but only a small handful, maybe a dozen or so, black-owned labels that ever got to that same level of national power, not because black talent wasn't there, not because black entrepreneurs lacked vision, but because the system blocked ownership at every turn. Banks refused black business loans, white labels controlled distribution, record stores rejected black-owned products, corporate networks shut out black execs, radio stations stayed white-controlled, investors stayed white, black Americans created the culture. But white-owned companies controlled the money, the messaging, and the narrative. When you don't own the label, you don't own the message. And for over 100 years, white-owned labels have used black talent to push stories that don't represent black communities, glorify stereotypes, and bury the real voices of our people. That's not culture, that's propaganda. Because if you distort a culture people don't control, you control how the world sees them. Ownership isn't about money, it's about power. Motown proved what happens when black people own the studio. We create music that heals, unifies, uplifts, and shows the fullness of who we are. The Gordy family didn't just escape sharecropping, they escaped a system designed to break them. Their journey, from the cotton fields of Georgia to the stages of the world, is a roadmap for what black ownership can produce. Art, wealth, vision, legacy, cultural power. One decision, one windfall seized without hesitation, one escape from the plantation economy, and one family changed the face of music forever. If this was eye-opening, don't stop here. Dig deeper with us. Join our community on Coffee, where we teach forgotten black history to every age, from toddlers to elders, with powerful stories and beautiful learning packs that keep our legacy alive.